Right, let's have a look at some urban design. So why do you need to know this? Because it's just a very important part of the architecture repertoire, so to speak. You need to know a bit of urbanism, urban design, which is represented mostly by plans. So, what is urbanism? You could call it the zoomed out version of architecture. It's got a couple of principles. Some of them we'll discuss in these drawings, because for you right now they're probably impossible to understand. You just look at these elements and you just go, what's this? Why is this? Stuff like that. What's with the little X's and what are these things? Okay, no worries, we'll go through each of them. Let's look at this layout here. Let's talk about a couple of principles behind urbanism. So number one, traditional urban layouts. So this is a traditional cityscape. Fortunately, I chose the sheet that has good graphics but has a very poor way of expressing these principles. This is a lot better. So this is traditional urban space. What urban design, urban fabric you could call it. Like the way a city is built. So why is this traditional? Because the free space is a direct result of the built space. So you got all these little streets. Obviously what's hatched, so what's dark, is the built space. Yeah, this cross over here, this should be a cathedral. It's got a bit of weird proportions for a cathedral, just to be a bit more bulky. Right, so the built space is blocks, and the free space is basically streets, an urban square, a boulevard, etc. Number two, this should be modernist urban design. This kind of expresses the modernism in not an ideal fashion, just because you'd need a bit of the traditional. You'll never see something like this in real life. But we've got a good example here of the axonometric. So these X's are tower blocks, right? The huge towers behind relatively normal apartment blocks. These apartment blocks are, and towers obviously are, the opposite, because they're modern, they're modernist. So you need to basically have them look like a figure. For traditional urbanism, you have the street be the free space and the built environment be the constraint. For modernist urbanism, you have the built environment as separate objects floating in the free space. So this frees up a lot of area where you could have, a lot of really nice landscape design and a lot of nature. Unfortunately, this didn't work out as a social experiment, but still very interesting. Number three, urban plazas, right? Urban squares. So you have a couple of typologies of urban squares over here. It's interesting. I can zoom in a bit. Okay, you see? Again, the cathedral plan kind of resembles a cross. Number four should have been here, but this one's messed up. Incredible. Nope, this one's messed up as well. Incredible. All of these are messed up. So the gist of it should have been contrast. Should have been an axis of composition. So for that, you should have had like an axis that ends with the cathedral. But to have that, you need to have buildings around it. But what my students did is they took something that's longer, like this, and just cut it up so it fits a nice little square. This should have been the axis of composition, right? Which gives you like direct view with a end of perspective interesting object, in this case a cathedral. Right, and the last one should be contrasts, which is this one here, 5. You've got a very rectangular space with different elements. Now that you learned all of this, you can look at urbanism with a bit more of a critical perspective and approach. And yeah, you need to draw all of this stuff. So if you like the material in this course, I recommend you go for the free 5-day intensive. It's a free 5-day course on my website, and you just access it via your email address. You get 5 free lessons directly in your inbox. Take care, draw nicely.